0 to 60 can define a performance car, but it's the fastest 60 to 0 that's the aim of Terox brakes. From road cars to race cars, circuits, special stages, or the autostrada, nothing reduces speed like Terox brakes. Italy gave the world the art of Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Terox has given drivers the art of stopping. For more information and to acquire your own masterpiece, visit terox.co.uk. Yes, it's me, Mark Stone, and this is the Backseat Driver podcast. It's the fastest, it's the friendliest, and it's for all the family. The Gas Shocks 116 Trophy and 120 Coupe Cup are the fastest growing race series in the UK, taking in 6 one-hour races and 8 sprints at all the top circuits. Visit 116trophy.com to find out more and get yourself behind the wheel. From a pot of tea to TT motorbikes. From a classic English breakfast to a full serving of classic cars. Bridge House Tea Rooms is the Northwest premier classic car meeting location for cars, bikes, tractors and owners clubs. So no matter what your automotive appetite might be, visit Bridge House Farm Tea Rooms on their Facebook page or call John and Alicia on 07980 444 221 for show details and to reserve your own table and parking space.
I'd like to welcome to Backseat Driver Ian Harwood, rally driver and the man who competed in the London to Mexico rally. Now, that's over 50 years ago now, but it's interesting how that rally and the London-Sydney is starting to gain interest once again. People are interested in these long-distance rallies. Ian Harwood, welcome to Backseat Driver.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, it goes back a long time, doesn't it? 1956, my love with four wheels started when I had the morning off school to take my driving test in Chester, and fortunately I passed because my headmaster was not very happy. And once I got four wheels, I had a single Le Mans, I had an MGTA, I had a Dello, which is the trials car, and then my girlfriend, who is now my wife, thought a tin roof would be...
Well, let's say fine women want roofs on cars.
They do, because of these hairdos. So eventually my first rally car as such was a Riley 1.5, 1962. And I started doing local events, and I started winning local events.
That's Clueville's putting in, you joined the car club, because to join car club.
That's right, Chester Motor Club, and another little motor club still going, Broughton and Breton, based in North Wales, and those two motor clubs really steered my life. And latterly, Knutsford Motor Club, which is still a very, very active motor club today, of course. So the Riley was the one I did driving tests, auto tests, rallies, and I managed to win 2 or 3 events in 1965, the Rally of North Wales, the Rally Gogledd Cymru, the Slaters, the Bala Motor Club, and I got spotted by a local company who had just been given a Triumph dealership. So they approached me with these sort of successes of limited nature that I'd had, and they said, look, we've just been given this Triumph 2000 demonstrator car. We would like you to perhaps do a rally with this. I thought, blimey, that's a step up, isn't it? International rallying, because they mentioned the Tulip Rally in Holland. So, I did this.
A bit rally, nice and comfortable as well.
Oh, it's the way to go riding, isn't it? Absolutely. And that straight 6 engines are joy. So they approached me on this Triumph deal, and I was so privileged to be offered this ride. And I had a local pal of mine who came along with me. So they put in a KPH speedometer, the only mod we did to the car, because it was in the showroom the previous week. So they put this KPH speedo in.
They didn't also mention when you finished it's going back in the showroom.
It did with the stickers on it, as a local publicity stunt, which worked quite well for them. So we go over to Holland and we get through scrutineering, and the next morning we're given the road book, famous for his tulip navigation things, of course. And this young lad comes looking at these different rally cars in the morning of the start there, and he looks in our window, and I'm in the driver's seat there. Oh, he said, your car is modified. No, I said, it's completely standard. But he said, your speedometer, it says 220 miles an hour. No, I said, it's kilometres an hour. Well, he was very offended, I think, that he'd been caught out on this. So we looked at the class, and there were BMW 1800 Ti's, there were Volvo 122S, and there were a couple of very quick Opel records. And there's one Triumph 2000. So the Tulip Rally, and this is 1966. So the Tulip Rally then, they had a silversmith who used to make this lovely silver tulips. There were 3 for a class win, 2 for second, 1 for a third in class. So they looked lovely on display. So off we go, and it's all tarmac really, and we go up towards the Ardennes, and the halfway halt is a 2-day rally, and the halfway halt is sort of 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's a big sort of Parc Fermé area. So we go in, and the halfway results are being shown. So we thought, well, we'll have a look, see what's happening. Yeah, this Opel record that was German registered, a couple of guys there with matching overalls and helmets and things there, so they look quite professional. Yeah, they were leading the class. One of these many 1800 Ti BMs was second, and third was a lowly Triumph 2000. Well, we thought, that's not bad, is it really? Could we be picking these BMWs off on these different stages? So a third in class, well, that'd be nice if we could finish third in class, because you got a silver tulip. So up in the Ardennes, we do various cols, the Col de Fossile and so on. But we didn't have an accurate speedo. This was our problem, which was a shame, because some of the tulip diagrams were sort of 18 kilometres apart. And we'd had 1 or 2 little overshoots because the speedo was really a bit slow. And we came to this one particular junction where I was being warned, certainly, in the next half kilometre, there'll be a slot off to the left. So it's midnight, of course, so early morning, and we're thumping down this lane, and we see all these skid marks on this road, on a little slot on the left. Right, stop, up this little road, to be met by a BMW coming backwards. Obviously, wrong slot. So we get back on the road, we go another 100 yards or 100 metres, and there's another set of tarmac skid marks there. Slot left, we take it, which is obviously the right one. So we're a bit cross with ourselves about that. So we get back, and the finish at Noordwijk in Holland, and all the silverware's on display. These tulips, silver tulips, are all there.
And I must say, I've seen them. They are lovely little things, aren't they?
And of course, the guy that made them, he died some years after, and now they don't do them, of course, really. And I don't know if the tulip runs quite as it used to be run, but they are lovely. And every British rally driver really wanted a tulip. Well, better still, 3 tulips. No. So at the finish there, they're all on display, and we're dying to know how the results have gone. So the overall winner and second and third, it was Rano Alternate who won the rally in a Cooper S, Works S, and Vic Elfin and Lotus Cortina was second, and Peter Harpet and a Sunbeam Tiger was third. And then we get down to the important bits, the class wins. So our class is coming up there. Well, this Opel record, yep, he won the class. Second, 1800 Ti BMW. Third, another BMW. We were fourth in class. And we missed a silver tulip by 10.3 seconds. That little overshoot we had cost us, we reckon, 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So that was it. But the dealership were very pleased, and the car was back in the showroom. They asked us to leave the stickers on the car. Normally, I didn't like running around with numbers on the car, but they asked us to leave the stickers on and so on. And it was in the showroom. And the local radio people, Radio Merseyside and so on, did interviews with us and with the owners. So that was interesting there. 66, that was. Now, I bought a well-used Cortina GT in 66. Phil Simister, he was a good Motor News chap. He came second, I think, a couple of times in the Motor News Championships. And he ran a Ford dealership in Macclesfield, Simister's, main Ford dealers. And I bought my Angler from him. I had a 1200 Angler which I bought from him. And whilst I was there, I spotted this Cortina in the showroom. Well, no, in the workshops. Oh, I said, that's your car, surely. 12 YMA. Because I have a thing about registration numbers. Yes, he said, I don't know what I'd do with it, really. Why? I said, you thinking of selling? Well, he said, I might do. He said, it's whether sell it as is or whether we just tidy up a bit. Well, I said, I would be interested in buying it if it's not too dear. Well, he said, look, it's tax, it's MOT. He said, come up the road with me. So we go up the road, and I'm quite impressed with the car and his driving as well. He obviously knew the lanes we were in. So I bought the car, and this is the end of 66. My wife was quite interested in motoring, and still is, and she said, I wouldn't mind doing this Chester Motor Club Bartley Rally, which was in October 66. Well, I'm quite delighted, happy wife, happy life. So my wife enters this Bartley Rally, Chester Motor Club, in this Cortina GT, and damn me, she goes out and wins it. Much to a lot of male frustration, but she wins it fair and square. Now, what we didn't know, when she was competing in this rally in October 66, she was 2 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So, of course, my daughter, who was born in the July, still reckons that she is the youngest person to ever win the Bartley Rally, a 2-month seed. So that was 66. So I cut back on my rallying program in 67, and I switched to rally, autocross and auto tests and things like that. And, 67, 68, 69 gets a bit boring, really. I was lucky to win the Welsh Autocross Championship outright in all those years. The Players number 6 was the National Autocross Championship, finished a contested thing, and I won our class in the North England region and got through to the finals each year. And I also did the odd auto test.
Yeah.
And I happened to keep picking up the odd win in this Cortina GT. And I was approached by one of the motor club people from North Wales. Would I be interested in being in a driving test team, or auto tests, as we call them nowadays?
Yeah.
And what it was an event which I'd seen myself on TV. It's called the Ken Wharton Driving Tests. And it's the home nations, England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and I think another country as well. And they each submit 3 cars. Front-wheel drive, which was Cooper S, sports cars, which are generally the MG midgets and Healy Sprites and so on, and the saloon cars. Well, there were a variety of cars there, but the Cortina GTs, especially the Lotus Cortinas, were the cars there. So I was the saloon car man for Wales, and we went through to, in the Midlands, we met up with Raymond Baxter, who was doing the commentary, and we did our stuff. And the next year I was back again, and Raymond Baxter, he said, you were here last year. Just update me what you've done for the commentary. So I updated him. And 68, I'll just keep going up in the years. 68, right. Pal of mine, the one that did the Tulip Rally with me, Graham John, local rallyman, he had bought quite a nice 12-month-old Lotus Cortina, Mark II. So 66, 67, I'm jumping up, 68 RAC. 68 RAC.
Because that was in the days when the RAC was a proper rally.
5 days, forests, 1 night's sleep. Yeah, that's great. The endurance events, which suited me fine, really, because I always like the long-distance things. So we both got young families. In fact, our second daughter by then was 3 months old. So he said, do you think our girls would allow us to do the RAC? Well, I said, it's worth a try, isn't it? So my wife, I was, okay, we had a young family. We had to be mindful of that. So we did the 68 RAC. We started from London. And the car was nicely set up. I think the engine was not necessarily modified, but it was very reliable. So
also the time was a reliable engine. Out-and-out power wasn't the thing. It was an engine that will keep going.
That's right. And all the prizes are at the finish.
Yes.
So the arrangement was that my pal Graham had been a club racer some years before with the Lotus 7. So he wanted to do all the racing circuits. There are about 15 racing circuits there. He was not really a forest man. So I did the forests, he did the tarmac, and it worked well. So we get
out. That was also in the days when a co-driver was, besides the maps, etc., was a driver. They tend not to be. That's by the way. There's a rider. The co-driver drove.
That's quite right. Well, we were both drivers. This was the trouble, you see. We were both drivers. Neither of us really enjoyed being in the co-driver's seat. I'm not a particularly good passenger at speed anyway. But we both just agreed all this. We'd both take our turns. And so that was it. So we started in London. We go up across south of England, up through Wales, all the wonderful forests, up to the lakes, up to Edinburgh. First night's halt in Edinburgh. And there's a night's sleep there, and the provisional results are shown the next morning. So, okay, next morning we have breakfast, and there's crowds of people around these big boards with the results on. And the first board's got from 1st to 30th, and the second board's from 30th to 60th, and so on. So I skip the first board, so I pick up sort of between 30th and 60th. And I'm looking, I know him. Oh, he's doing well. I know him. So we're looking at these boards, and somebody taps me on the shoulder. He says, "My word, you're doing well." Well, I said, "I can't see any." "No," he said, "I'm going to be here for I still can't see." So he takes you to the first sheet there, which is from 1st to 30th, and at the halfway, we're lying 14th. Car's reliable, which is important, of course. So we have a driver's meeting, don't we? And we decide, well, we've been going 9/10, occasionally 9.5 maybe. We'll stay as we are. Graham's enjoying his circuits. I'm at home in the forests. And we just think, well, 14th, okay, there could be a couple of retirements in the way back down to London. So we get back down to London, and the results are there. And we end up 8th overall on the 68 RAC rally, which helped, of course, with sponsorship and with seeding on different events later on. So that was 68 highlight.
Because just putting in, back then, class wins and doing well in categories counted for a lot more.
Yes, that was it. I mean, it wasn't just the overall win. It was, as you say, the class win. And we were third Ford home, which Ford recognised as well,
yes.
which was quite handy. And it did help me later on when different things crop up there. So I decided that we'd seen these Escorts at work. They were newly introduced, of course, the Ford Escort twin cams. And I thought, well, that's the way to go. And I started looking I couldn't afford to buy one, young family and a fairly new home. So I started scouting around and keeping my ears open and talking to different people in the trade. If there was a damaged Escort I could buy or whatever. So one of my pals who worked in the workshops at Quicks of Chester, main Ford dealers then, he said, "We've got a 3-week-old Escort GT that's being reshelled." He said it's done 600 miles. They're going to reshell it. He said there'll be a nice shell there. So I bought it, had it straightened, put the engine, gearbox and things from my Cortina, engine, gearbox and axle fitted the Escort.
Yeah.
By this time, I built a twin cam engine, which I felt was the way to go. So 69, I got this Escort on the road. And I was quite pleased the way it went. It was quick compared to the Cortina, which I'd done the RAC in. It felt quick. It had more power, of course, because I'd modified the engine with L1 cams, which gave about 160-ish, 770 brake. So the first event I do is the International Welsh Rally, which is in the May. And I'd only just got the car on the road about the week before because I had to get it insured and I had to get the police to come and examine it and give it a registration number. So I virtually drove the car going down to the start of the Welsh in May. And it was quick. I realised it was quick and it was a bit twitchy as well, which the Cortina hadn't been. So we start the rally. I'm seeded number 15, which again was as a result of coming 8th on the RAC. So that was fine. So the first stage is Epant. In fact, the first 4 stages are Epant, which I hadn't done, but I'd heard about, and I'd heard stories about Epant. If you went off on Epant, you were off for 3 days till they found you. So the start was there. I watched my Minuteman go off, and I'm watching his brake lights and things like that. And then it's us to go. And I have to say, for the first 5 minutes, it's the hairiest bit of rallying I've ever done. The combination of Epant with its blind brows and yumps and things, this Escort, which I was still learning to drive. The beauty was we caught the Minuteman at the end. We both went over the flying finish virtually side by side.
Yeah.
So I felt, well, that's all right. I'm quite pleased about that because the car was proving that it was all right. It was quick. And Next week in Motor News, you look at the stage times, we're actually 4th fastest on Eppens, behind Colin Malkin. So that was quite nice. And we had a couple of 7th fastest in the forests. And then I had to retire, I'm afraid, in Dovey. The Ford Escort's first problem, really, was the cross member would open up and the engine used to slip down the cross member and the sump would touch the rack. And that's what happened with me. We were putting more oil in than we could get hold of. So I retired before I blew the engine. So that was 68.
Hidden away in the heart of the Ribble Valley, Specialised Automotive Services offer unrivalled levels of talent for all types of vehicles. All makes and models, old and new, are cared for with the exact same levels of detail. From accident repairs, paintwork, or even full bespoke bare metal resprays. Mechanical rebuilds to full replacement or modifications of defunct electrical systems. Specialised Automotive Services offer traditional engineering and mechanical skills along with the company's constantly updated digital systems and diagnostics. Each SAS technician embodies the SAS ethos of ensuring everything is in order and exactly as it should be. To arrange a guided tour of the workshops and the new vehicle finishing and detailing bay, call Dean on 01282 776 081 or visit sas-autos.co.uk.
69, much the same story again, really. I was asked if I would do Mull, the tour of Mull, which became quite a well-known event. Still is.
It's now legendary, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I was asked by Don Barrow, who, of course, had been a works navigator with Timo Mäkinen and people.
And if you don't mind me saying, a past guest.
Yes, of course. I've heard you interview Don as well. Good pal these days. And we did Mull. The story was that Jimmy Buller, his regular driver, wasn't available. I had heard that Jimmy Buller didn't want to be rallying on grass, which they said that there's no way on Mull can you get 200 miles of roads to qualify as a Motor News event. And there was a fair bit of sort of loose stuff around. So because I'd won the Welsh Rally Autocross Championship, they thought, well, maybe I was the guy for the loose stuff.
Yeah.
So we go up to Mull. Don and I, we stay bed and breakfast in Oban. We go over the next morning, Saturday morning, when the start is. I go to scrutineering. Don had not even set foot on the island before. We did hear that the likes of George Hill and Will Sparrow and one or two other people had been up doing 3-4 day recce's. So, okay. So we do Mull, and we're quite surprised, really, that at the halfway halt, we're just 7 seconds behind George Hill, who went on to win it. And we were matching fastest times through the event. And very sadly, because we haven't done a recce, Don had never been up there before, we took a shortcut, which was on the map. It was a triangle.
Yeah.
We went across the base of the triangle there. We're thumping down this white. He's warning me. He said, 200 yards, he said, I want to take a right turn, 100 yards. Where those people are, there's a couple of dozen people standing at the side of the road. They said, that's where the junction must be. So they're on a cattle grid, these people there. So we there, tweet round the handbrake, down this little lane, and we come to a blessed bolted padlock gate about probably, well, Don reckoned it was nearly half a mile, I don't know. So we had to reverse back. It was such a tight thing. So we had to reverse back up. And this is dark, it's towards the end of the rally. And as we reversed back onto the road, we'd left, there was this gang of chaps that were on this cattle grid. Inadvertently, they'd covered the arrow was telling us to go straight on, which we didn't see, couldn't read. And, of course, Don did what was natural. So I'm afraid we finished 4th overall. But it opened a few people's eyes because the stage times were in Motor News and so on and so on. So after Mull, 69, I'm talking now, just got to keep my perspective going here. 69. I was also doing the Players Number 6 Autocross.
Yeah.
Now, Morecambe Car Club always did a good show. And Tony Mason, who became Ford's competition coordinator later on, he had got different guest stars arriving, including Hannah Mikula, who was arriving in a brand new works car that he'd picked up from British Vita and was bringing it up to this autocross meeting with the Players No. 6 Championship round. And he was going to demonstrate this works escort.
Yeah.
Trouble is, when he got up there, Miss Great Britain was there and a couple of Formula 5000 drivers alongside their cars there. And Hannah Mikula arrived in this gorgeous, gorgeous works car. It failed scrutineering. Of all the things that British Vita hadn't done is when you put the fuel lines inside the car, we all know you have to have a protective coating on them.
Yeah.
British Vita slipped through the net on this, and the scrutineers wouldn't allow Hannah to do a drive. So it was a quick phone call from Tony Mason to Stuart Turner, Ford's competition manager, or God as we called him. And Stuart Turner said, well, look, who's there in a competitive escort? So they rattled 3 or 4 names. It's agreed, well, look, ask Ian Harwood if he will allow Hannah to drive the car on Ford's bend and mend. If he rolled it, they'd reshell or repair. If he blew the engine, they'd repair. So we're delighted to say that Hannah Mikula spent the day. My wife was there, our 2 young daughters, and he spent the day with us. Lovely, lovely guy. And we put the crash helmets on the floor. Normally there's just one crash helmet. And my elder daughter, who was about 3.5 by then, would often sit in my helmet and just roll around like a moonhopper thing. So this time we had 2 helmets, didn't we? So my younger daughter, who was about 15 months old, sees this spare helmet. So she walks over and sits in this other helmet. And they're both rocking around there. And Hannah's quite delighted. He sees this and he's laughing at these kids. And all of a sudden he goes very serious and he points to these things. Poo-poo, boo-boo. So we had to explain, no, they wouldn't. Anyway, we took them out of the helmets, put them in the car. And Hanno does his bits, and of course he wins the class. He's about 2.5 seconds quicker than me on this 2 laps of this field. But it was nice to meet him.
Yeah.
And that was 69. So we got Mole, where at the halfway halt we'd been second, and then we had this slight navigational problem. Martin Holmes, who was almost a works driver, co-driver, he phoned me up. He said, look, he said, I've just been reading the Mull report there. He said, the Targa Rusticana is a top motor news event. He said, would you do it with me? Well, I said, yes. This elevation of being driven or co-driven by these works drivers, co-drivers, was okay. So we do the Targa Rusticana. And like Mo, at the halfway halt, we're lying second to John Bloxham, who went on to win it. And I'm afraid in the second half, we had alternator failure, no lights, dimmed headlights there, and the inevitable T-junction comes up a bit quicker than we were expecting on gravel, and of course we damaged the car a wee bit. So that's it. So we're out of that.
But I mean, back then, drivers and co-drivers weren't as religiously glued together as they are now. Because chop and change, if somebody wasn't doing something and you were, or whatever, you'd be invited to do it.
Well, this is it, and you're right, because Martin Holmes he was Russell Brooks, he was with Paul Faulkner, and different drivers, Sprinzel, and people like that, and I actually did the year with him later on. But
and you weren't tied to cars. I mean, lots of time you used your own car.
You did.
You could happily be invited to drive a different make and model of car. And I only thought,
that's right. It was much more relaxed in those days, really. As you say, people do get they get regimented now. They are usually under contract.
I was going to say they're under contract. They're direct up to it and the sponsors and everything. Doing something else.
That's it. So that was it. So the Targa, we were second at the halfway, like we were a Mull. We do the Seven Dales Rally, which is a great event. The Lacey Motor Club up in Yorkshire organised the Seven Dales. And it's always 2 rallies in one. There's a daytime stage event, and then at 10 o'clock at night, after they've done all the stages, you then do the night event.
Yep.
And we get to the halfway halt where we're changing from stage to road rally. And it's a big like a truck stop, somewhere near Selby Moor, I believe.
Yeah.
And we roll up to this cafe place there, and these guys from DeLacy Motor Club, who are also autocrossers, "Hey, Harwood, we thought you were an autocross man. You're second. What's happening?" So there we were second again at the halfway halt. Unfortunately, on the road section there, we're going through a quiet zone, and this is like, we're not far from the end of the rally, but we're just going as quiet as we can in third gear just to get the engine smooth, and a camshaft breaks.
Yeah.
Lotus twin cam. So we're out again, aren't we? Terrible.
I mean, the Lotus twin cam was a phenomenal engine, but like anything by Lotus, they had their fragile.
Well, that's right. And Ford caught a cold in 1968. They did the London to Sydney.
Yeah.
Lotus Cortinas Mark IIs, built by Borum. And they had a rough ride because the engines just weren't strong enough.
No.
And I'll come on to the World Cup later on.
I mean, that's the problem. I mean, you look at a lot of the Lotus F1 cars, the original ones, they'd be leading, or else they'd be in second challenging for first, and all of a sudden click out. Because in many ways, it was something insignificant that would go.
They were quite a complex engine in their day. Quite a complex engine. I mean, the number of times I built my twin cam engine in the kitchen next, one up in the hoarding, assembling valve springs and things. And yes, but they were very finicky, really, and they were hard to keep dry. They would drip oil all the time, really.
Yeah.
There we.
Mate, it's like the old saying, isn't it? If you go in your garage and there's no pool of oil under your Jaguar MG, what's the problem? Say oil left.
So there we go. So that was the 7 days, 1970. We retired again, having been second to the halfway halt. The Plains Rally, which Knutsford Motor Club ran, now that was always considered to be the premier event of the year. It was beautifully organised. And I had won a set of tyres. I'd done some tyre testing for Goodyear about a month before the Plains, and I was given a set of these new Goodyear Rally Supers, which I quite like. So I put these new tyres on about a fortnight before the rally just to get the feel of the car and so on. And again, would you believe, at the halfway halt, we're 4 seconds off the lead. And the car that was leading...
When you got to the stage, you dreaded being second.
Well, it's no good being second at the halfway, because we don't know that. But it kept the adrenaline going, I suppose, really. So we do the Plains. The second half, we're going fine. The car that was leading, I knew had retired. So Martin Holmes, who was navigating for me still, we got about a 3-minute lead over Frank Pearson, who was like second at the time. And we're going down this fast white. We're yumping down there. And I think, we got a puncture. I can feel the car pulling left. So I said, how far to the end of this selector? Said it's... good 3 miles. I said, we'll have to stop, really. So we pull over. We got this practice where the spare wheel's out, the jack's up and so on. And we get the front wheel changed. And as I'm walking past the back wheel, that's also got a puncture. We must have clipped a bit of flint or something like that.
Yeah.
So there we were. We're out. We had one spare wheel because Martin, for the first time, said, will you run one spare to get the weight down? Because this is an awfully quick rally. So there we go. Second and halfway.
You'll learn. You'll put 2 in from there.
Well, I always did run 2 spare wheels. The only time, really, I had, really. So 1970 we're talking now, really. Moving on, 71. 7 Dales again. Ron Crellin, who of course was Paddy Hopkirk's co-driver, he was without a driver on the 7 Dales, and he rang me up and said, look, he said, I want to have a run in a Ford Escort. He said, would you mind being my driver?
Yeah.
Well, I said, yes. I mean, I'm so privileged that these top-line navigators are looking for a ride. Well, he said, I can only do this one event, he said. I've had a word with, because he was under contract with Paddy Hopkirk as well. He said, I can only have this one event in a Ford. They're not happy with me going forward. Anyway, we get 4th overall on this event. For once, we get 4th overall, and we got a free entry in the Scottish Rally. The first 5 cars had international rallies, and I chose the Scottish because I like the gravel, of course. And I did that with another well-known co-driver, Will Sparrow's navigator, Nigel Rayburn. And we used an ex-works car, which I was loaned for the event. Withers of Winsford loaned me their ex-works car, AVX 578G. Unfortunately, we broke the gearbox. So that was us out again. So there we go. I'm just having a little thing here. 71. Right. I get a phone call about October. 9 o'clock, 9:30 one evening, the phone goes, and I take the phone call. Good evening, Ian. He said, it's Stuart Turner here. Well, fortunately, I knew Stuart Turner, who was boss of Ford Competitions. He said, I've just got a provisional entry list for the RAC rally. He said, you're not doing it. No, I said, I decided I couldn't really afford it because I've had a fairly heavy year and young family and so on. Well, he said, look, I've got a deal I'll put to you. He said, I'd like to know in the next 24 hours if it's on. He said, I'd like you to do the RAC rally with Joginder Singh. Now, Joginder Singh was the first man to win the East African Safari Rally 3 times. So he said, the deal would be that we'd have your car down at Boreham. Boreham is in Essex, where all these works cars are built. He said, we will lend you an engine. It's just won the Cyprus Rally. It's an all-steel Phase 4 BRM modified twin-cam engine. And as a thank you, we will give you a new rocket gearbox and the latest Atlas axle. Well, okay, that's interesting. Right, well, I said, listen, I'm very interested, of course, but I would like to just check with my wife and time off work and so on. So that's all okay. So I ring him back the next day. Right, he said, I want your car down at Boreham within the next few days. He said, we will change the engine. We'll put the engine and box and axle on for you. So that's fine. I run the car down to Boreham, leave it with them. They lend me, I think it was Bourne Waldegard's car, which was just lying around at Boreham there because he was out wrecking. And I used that Capri for a week, full of Swedish newspapers in the back seat there, full of Swedish newspapers. So that was right. So we do the event. Joginder Singh flies in from Nairobi, and Ford are paying the entry fee and hotel and so on and so on and so on. So I suggest to Ford, Bill Barnett and Stuart Turner, the two guys, I said, listen, my wife and I would be very happy if Joginder stayed with us. We've got room here. Yes, that's fine. You get to know the guy. So I met him at Chester Station. I'm thinking, I hope I recognise him because every photograph I see of Joginder, he's got a turban on, you see. So sure enough, coming down this the platform is this guy with a turban. So I'm thinking this has got to be him. So I sort of make eye contact with him and yep, that's it. So he comes here, stays 2 nights with us here. We get to know him. My kids get to know him. One quick little story. He wears his turban all the time. It's a paper mache one because on the rally, he took this off before the stage where people weren't around and put the crash helmet on. And my younger daughter, who would be about 3 at the time, she was sitting on his knee and he was very family oriented, had a young family, and she's looking at Joginder and then she's looking at this turban and then she's looking back at Joginder and Val and I were thinking, oh my God. So out this little voice comes, Joe, because he asked us to call him Joe. Joe, have you really hurt your head?
And on that note, Ian Harwood, we shall bring part 1 to an end, and when we come back, we shall be taking part in, shall we say, probably one of the longest rallies you've ever driven. But part 1, Ian Harwood, thanks very much for joining me on Backseat Driver.
Thank you, Mark. Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Rarely beaten on price, never beaten on service. Whether it's cars, bikes or commercials, Hodder Tyres are the best in the business. And when it comes to tyre expertise and advice to supplying the correct tyres for your vehicle's specific requirements, nobody comes close to David Lakin and the Hodder Tyres team. So give them a call on 01200 613 192 or visit the website at hoddertyres.co.uk.